This one is on ideas for revitalizing your technology club. And you notice I didn't say computer club, I said technology club. So, is your group suffering, like many are, from officer leader burnout? It seems like 1, 2, 3 officers, if you're lucky, you have 3 that are in charge of everything. Sometimes groups just have one person that is holding it all together. And these people have done everything for years and they're really getting tired and they kind of ask for help, but nobody steps up to the plate, but nobody wants the club to end. You have a lack of volunteers, your membership is reduced, the same person or a couple of people are giving presentations, and sometimes those presentations don't meet the members' needs. Your newsletter editor retired or just doesn't want to do it anymore, and they say, who would like to volunteer to do this? And they expect that person to learn a desktop publishing program. Your webmaster moved away and no one knows how the website works, and no one really, has a desire to figure that type of program out. So back in the day, 2007 to 2016, I sent out surveys, and back as far as 2007, the same topics come up: lack of volunteers, officer burnout, new program ideas, how do we recruit new members, and by golly, we're losing members, how do we retain our members and get new ones? So our demographics are boomers and zoomers, also known as seniors. I find that now a lot of organizations are referring to seniors as the elderly. I really would rather seniors or zoomer for me than the elderly. That really sounds old. And this seems to be the demographic for most of our member groups. We are the fastest growing group of people in the population. Supposedly we have more time to pursue our interests. Many of us are even more busy now than we were at work, and we're more likely to at least be online. But many seniors still need help. They want to learn how to use technology, but oh my gosh, they're afraid of it. I will get people in my tech classes, my introduction to computers and Windows, and they are afraid to death of their computer. They just are afraid they're going to break it. It's too complicated. I'll never be able to figure it out. I'm too old to learn something new, and they're embarrassed to make mistakes. They're also embarrassed to ask questions. So one of the first things I tell them, and I often say this at my computer club meeting, is there are no stupid questions. I guarantee the people that if somebody has guts enough to ask a question, I am going to see many heads in the audience or the class nod their heads like, oh gee, I'm so glad that person had the guts to ask that question. That kind of breaks the ice, and then they start interacting and asking questions. So aren't our meetings about educating people? You don't want your group to end up in this computer club, technology group, user group, whatever you want to call it, graveyard. So how do you find presentations? I suggest you get to know the groups in your area. They don't have to be in the town next door, just close to you in your area. Share presenters. I travel an hour away every other month to give a presentation to a group. I enjoy sharing my presentations, so it's a fun trip for me. And I've hit like 3 or 4 freeways, but it's something I've been doing for years. I also give presentations to 3 other groups in my area, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour away. You might want to think about coordinating a vendor tour or sponsor tour. Bob from Avast, he tours Arizona, Florida, and SoCal every year. I set up his tour for him in SoCal every March. He's also toured Ohio, as well as 3 groups in Pennsylvania at the same time. If you have clubs in your area that are within driving distance, he has gone from Southern California to Central California to give presentations. Once they hit the ground in your particular area, they really don't mind driving. And Bob G's about one of the only presenters that, does travel out to groups now. And he's more than willing, if you can get 2 or 3 clubs together in 1 week, or the end of a week and the beginning of the next week, he'll be more than happy to come and give you an in-person presentation. If you go out to your community and look for people, tell them, it's like a sales call. Come to our group, talk about this particular subject. You're getting the name of your company in front of X number of people all at one time. AAA, they have free ID theft monitoring. We had an ambulance service, seems strange, come out and give a presentation, but it was what to expect when one is called. Whose clue? Nobody had a clue because they'd never had to call an ambulance. They told us where they looked for our medical information. Should it be on a flash drive? The answer was no. Should it be stuck on the front of the refrigerator or in the refrigerator? They told us all of the places they look before they transport, or the fact that you can refuse transportation, etc. We've had presentations from our astronomy club that have absolutely been fantastic on how they get the technology of computers, laptops, etc. in with their telescopes. Have a car dealer come out and talk about the latest technology in cars. Ergonomics, chiropractors. We had our city disaster preparedness office come out in September and give a presentation, and she hooked in again the technology part on, we have earthquakes out here in California, and how in 1994 the city of Santa Clarita, what they did in the parking lot with all of their technology to keep everybody updated on what is happening. The city webmaster came out and gave an absolutely fantastic presentation on navigating our city's website. What was embarrassing was none of my members had ever visited the website, and after it was finished, they realized it's someplace that they would like to go. Golden Gate Computer Society had a very interesting meeting on Costco's hearing aid specialist came out and gave a presentation. How about, in addition to the police department, you step it up to your district attorney's office or the FBI if you have an office in your area. If you'd like to play fraud bingo, I got intrigued with this and I put a set of bingo cards together on all of the scams and frauds that we're always telling our members about. I have 47 cards. I'd be more than happy to share. I've seen other groups play technology Jeopardy. Local charities, how they use technology. We have had our local radio station webmaster come out again and give us a tour of their website. Happy to do it. They're looking for more people to sign up for all of their email blasts. Digital records, Internet of Things medical devices. Ask your doctor. I happen to be a Kaiser person, so that's not going to happen for me. But if you have a doctor you've been going to or one of your members has for years, see if he or she will come out and talk to you. If you are lucky enough to be next to or close to a Microsoft store, you can go to them. They will give you a presentation. They have raffle prizes, and the store staff will come out to your group and give a presentation. You need to give them a lot of lead time to do this. We look at online banking and we say, everybody does that. I would say in my group, more people don't. That afraid thing up there of what's happening. And so it doesn't hurt to have a bank come out and talk about, is it secure or not? One of our local groups in SoCal just had a pharmacist come out and talk about all that medicine management. I thought that was very interesting. And don't laugh, but the United States Post Office puts on a very good presentation. You need to get in touch with a regional office, not your little post office down on the corner, and see if they have someone who can give it. And of course, they're trying to tell us all about their technology that they offer because we're tech users and they want to keep our business, so to speak, instead of having us do everything online. And you're looking at these things I talked about and you're going to yourself, well, I have this, 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 and this that we had a really good presentation about. If you have anything to add to this list, and I'm sure there's lots of you out there who do, please send me an email with the listed names of your presentations. These have all been given to some group somewhere that's a member of APCUG because I picked it up on their newsletters. My email address is jtaylour, TAYLOUR, @apcug.org, and I will add your information to the presentation. Read other group newsletters. I do this all the time, and I go, oh my gosh, that sounds like a good presentation. If one of their members gave it, ask if they will share. Maybe they would like to do a webinar. Possibly they had a presentation via webinar. Ask for contact information, and then ask the person who gave that webinar if they'll give one to your group. If you don't ask, you're not going to find out. All they can do is say no, which of course they often do, but every once in a while you get a wonderful person who will say, sure, I'd be more than happy to do that. I think the most difficult job in the group is program chair. The president leads the meeting, the treasurer does the books, the secretary takes minutes. They kind of have their niche, unless the president is also the program chair. But a standalone program chair has to schedule 12 monthly meetings or more. My group meets from 6 to 9, so sometimes during that time frame, I'll have 2, if not 3 presentations. Or you might see if you could find 4 people who wouldn't mind scheduling presentations 3 times a year. I just read in a newsletter that there's a group asking for a 2-person program committee. What it's doing is it's taking that 12 monthly meeting responsibility and putting it down to something that's more manageable. You're not on deadline 12 months. You're just deadline for 3 or maybe 6 meetings a year, and you do it alternating, so you have some breathing room. So I like to suggest a rotation of meetings to ensure the members of your group don't burn out giving presentations, and your members aren't saying, oh, that person's giving a presentation again. Reach out to your community or a sponsor and ask for a presentation. Again, in your community, it's a sales call. Use one of the virtual technology YouTube videos. We have PDF presentations and or handouts that you can give a link to your members so they have some kind of frame of reference to go along with the YouTube video. Have a member give a presentation. Some groups have a presentation for new users and another during the same 2-hour time frame for more knowledgeable users. The newbies learn with the second presentation, and the knowledgeable users get to have input on the first presentation. Have a Q&A panel, or some people call them as the gurus or stump the experts, whatever you call them. And for the 4th month, have someone from the Speakers Bureau give a live webinar. And please don't forget, when the presenter doesn't show, you always have APCUG's YouTube presentations. So take a quick look at a few of them, and if the presenter doesn't show, you can instantly show one of our videos. It's easy to get someone from the Speakers Bureau to give a presentation. They're given via Zoom, Skype, whatever. And here is all of the topics that our presenters offer presentations about. Quite a large list of interesting things, whether it be software, digital photography, ergonomics, user groups, utilities. We've got it covered. One of the more technical presenters is Francis Chow, and he has an ever-growing list of presentations, so I just have a list to his page. See what Bill James does, John Kennedy, our moderator. Bill just got through doing a home automation security presentation. He's our Android guy. Jerry Minnick is our I person. Anything you would like to know about iDevices, you're going to ask Jerry to give a presentation. Huey does a nifty ID theft presentation, especially during October, which is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. He himself is a victim of ID theft. And there's some of the presentations that I do. If your board or your membership doesn't have a clue about APCUG, wonder what they get for their $50, we do have that presentation. And David Williams, our president, he's into the cloud, utilities, and social media. You think Gene Barlow just does backing up? No, he does backing up, moving to an SSD, and of all things, macro photography. Excellent presentation. He and Linda have been doing macro photography for years. If you cannot have Bob come out and do an in-person presentation, he would be more than happy to do a webinar for you. He is going to be in Albuquerque the entire month of October, hopefully presenting to as many of APCUG's member groups as he can, because again, it's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a good tie-in to get you some publicity in your newspaper, etc. And in looking at his spreadsheet, not too many groups have taken him up on it, and here he's knocking on your door instead of your program chair having to look for a presentation. Leo Notenboom of Ask Leo. Take a look at his website for presentation topics and then get in touch with him. Rod Shear, he's the former Smart Computing editor. Many of us know him for eons. He did the dark side of technology at the 2016 Las Vegas conference, and he's more than happy to do that presentation. In fact, he's doing it for a group in a couple of weeks. But he says, hey, suggest a topic. If it's in his wheelhouse, he'll be more than happy to give that presentation. I do have contact information or www addresses in the resources at the end of the presentation. Our friend Abby Stokes, social media, ergonomics, NetTeak, she has many other topics that she's more than happy to give you a presentation. These are all live. You can see them, ask Q&A. When Gene Barlow used to come to SoCal every November, and it's so much fun to have him do a webinar and see his rosy cheeks up there on the screen. Once a year, you might want to think about tabletop demos. We've got a group in our area that does that, and the members bring their devices. For small group learning, of course, you have to have somebody who knows about those particular devices at each one of your tables, but they don't move from table to table, they just learn about their device, more about it. This Saratoga Technology Users Group, that used to be the PC Users Group, they have the circle of learning, where they have someone demonstrating something or showing something, and you rotate through the tables and find out about something new to you. You also might want to have once a year a PC tune-up or computer clinic. Many groups do this. Some of them do them monthly, whether they have a monthly SIG. The Computer Users Group of Greeley in Colorado is offering the service at the end of their meeting, started a couple of months ago. But the Channel Islands group in Camarillo had one, and they charge $20. It's a fundraiser. If a guest comes with his or her computer, that $20 goes toward their membership, so the clinic is no charge. If a member brings a guest who joins, the member gets their clinic at no charge. Cajun Clickers is one of those that has a SIG. They used to do a big one every year, but I think it just is a SIG where they offer it every month. But they have a nice disclaimer down there that if you're going to do this, you really need to have. And once a year, you might want to think about touring your website just for grins. How many members have really ever looked at it? I have a member that about every other meeting he'll say, do we still have a website? So I'm going to be doing this before Bob G's webinar in October. We're going to take a look at our website again. I get a lot of meeting ideas from push articles, especially the ones that are done by user group members. Tech columns, many tech columns have every single thing that one would need to put a presentation together, including screenshots. So if you have a member that says, you know, I'd like to give a presentation, but I don't know what to do, you might want to have them go to Ask Leo, How to Geek, or Tech Boomers and take a look, because everything is there for them. It's easy to copy and paste, snip and paste, and your presentation is finished. I used Tech Boomers when my group wanted to know about Groupon, and they asked for an Uber presentation. He has a wonderful tutorial there all about it, and we have permission from all three of these websites to use their articles in newsletters, and so I extend that on to presentations. And of course, I always give credit on where I got my information from. How about your website? Have you sat back and looked at it lately? Does it still have a 3.5 diskette, 5.25-inch diskette, or a CRT monitor in the logo? You might be laughing right now and falling out of your chair, but we do have groups that still have all three of those things in their masthead, in their logo, on their websites. The Ohio PC Users Group became the Idaho Technology Users Group was their end result. They had a logo contest, and this is what they came up with. So it's now on their newsletter. It is on their website. Food for thought. But what you need to do when you look at your website is you don't need to look at your website as you. You need to look at it as somebody who's just moved into town and thinks, you know, I want to see if there's a tech club in my area. If they looked at your website, would they say to themselves, hey, looks interesting. Let me check out when the meeting is, where it is, and I'm going to go. So do you have information on your homepage that tells what you're all about? Who are you? How long have you been doing this? Doesn't have to be a gazillion sentences, but just have a blurb about who you are, what you do. We cover devices from computers to smartphones to tablets to this to that to whatever. Give them an overview of who you are. Do you include some pictures, not only to jazz up your website, but give them an idea of what goes on at your meetings or your SIGs, social events, whatever you have? Do you have up-to-date meeting information on your website? That is the key. Up-to-date meeting information. If it's not on your homepage, is it at least within one click? And do you have something on your homepage that they can go, oh, if I click here, I'm going to get that meeting information? Can someone find you? I find that when I go to websites, that every once in a while, I start at the top and I visit every member group's website just to see what it looks like, what they're doing, what's going on, etc. And sometimes the address is there, there's no zip code. I've just moved into the area and you guys have 4 zip codes in your area. I have an enclosed valley and we have 5 zip codes here for our different little cities, so to speak. Oftentimes no zip code. People still like written directions. They know they can click on that Google map and, you know, the link to the Google map that I'm sure you all have. But having written directions, there are still people that paper and pencil is the first place they go, and they would like to be able to copy and paste those written directions and follow that to your meeting instead of taking time to go to Google Maps. Do you have up-to-date information for your officers? I have been to websites lately, and there is no mention that there's anybody running the club. There's not any officer information, no names, zip, zero, nothing. If you have an info at address or a contact form, is somebody designated to answer those? I can't tell you how many times I have sent a message to info at or used a contact form, and I'm still waiting to hear back. If you're going to have those on your website, you really do need to have somebody designated that will answer them. Not a committee of 6 because, oh, you know, John's going to take care of that. No, Judy's going to answer that. And in the long run, nobody answers it. If you don't want to put your office or email addresses on your website because of spam, you might turn them into a graphic. Many groups do that. Or officer title with the paren at whatever, blah, blah. And then you can put .org, D-O-T, org. But have some way to get in touch with you, and not like this few websites I've been to when I wonder how they ever get new members. Do you have a phone number? We do. We have a Google Voice number on our website. It says the exact same thing, same message as when we actually had a landline. And I get an email that says such and so called. Doesn't happen often, but then I can call them or I can get back to them via email. The one thing that is important is if you decide to set up a Google Voice, you should really be in your computer club's website or Gmail account, because you do have to have Gmail, because I did it in my personal Gmail account, so that's where the computer club voicemail messages go, which is really weird. Do you have just a mailing address on your website? Perhaps somebody will want to send you something. If you don't have a mailing address, you're out of luck. Do you have recaps of past meetings with pictures? Links to other groups in your area? Resources or self-help support? Tips and tricks? Share with me what you have that makes your website unique as compared to somebody else's. I do have to say, I'm very proud of the computer clubs that belong to APCUG that have updated their websites. Some of them have absolutely spectacular websites now, and they had a website before that had not been updated in eons. The most popular program is WordPress. I prefer Weebly because I'm, for all intents and purposes, a word processor. So I use Word to copy and paste. I use the snipping tool wonderfully, and Weebly makes it extremely easy for me to put a website together by using those skills. But take a look at the other member groups. Get ideas. Don't think that as a webmaster you need to reinvent the wheel, because you really don't. How can I do that? Use the UGLS to find groups. Go to that page, click on Find a Group, choose all states, search, check out, and everybody actually listening to me should do this and check out your group's information. And under group name, you don't fill in anything. You just change it to all states and then search, and an alphabetical listing of all of the member groups will show up. And if you click on one, this is the information that you get. This is for the Big Bear Computer Club. And this is what you should check for your group. I can send an email to Rosemary. The new president looks at this and says, oh, Rosemary doesn't get those emails anymore. Oh, I need to make sure I change that and put in somebody else's. Oh, we changed our website. We have a new address. Oh, we don't meet at the senior center anymore. We've moved. And you can click on the map and voila, you get your Google Map instructions. But everybody should check out this information for their group, because this is what is open to the public. So we're on to newsletters. I love newsletters, but you don't have one. I think it's really important to have a newsletter. It doesn't have to be 20 pages. I remember back in the day, we got 12 pages back to back for 6 pages equaled 1 postage stamp. So forever and a day, we all had 12, pages of information. But nobody wants to learn a desktop publishing program. And our editor left, and they used Publisher, or they used one of the Adobe programs. And nobody in their right mind in your group says, I don't want to do that. I use Word. I started out back in the day using WordPerfect for DOS. And I teach Word. So I segged over to Word. You can use Writer, Google Docs. Everybody, not everybody, but many of the people who read online newsletters appreciate it if they are just one column. So they don't have to scroll up and down, or they don't have to go, oh, continued on page 8. And they have to scroll down to page 8 to finish reading that article. Editors get, you know, a well over 100 articles via push every single year, and they're usually not time dated. I read an article in a newsletter, and it came out from push in 2016, and it's still up to date. But that editor is just now using that article. So there's your content if you don't have anybody in your group that writes anything original. Take a look at other groups' newsletters, get ideas. We just found out how to go through to every single member group from APCUG. And this is the first page of a newsletter that I do. It's 2 column. After this, it's totally 1 column. I have a boilerplate, and I just, you know, copy from 1 month. This is the August newsletter, so when I get ready to put Glendora's newsletter again for September, I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to delete all the old information and put new stuff in. And I know they're templates, but I call them boilerplates. And like I said, I think it's important to have newsletters, and I put about 5 out each month, and it works easy because they all look the same. They just have different pictures, different articles, depending upon their knowledge level, and they all have different mastheads, of course. Is your group on social media? Do you have a presence on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Meetup? The huge question is, but do you keep your page or pages up to date? If not, why do you bother having them? There are some Facebook pages out there that have not been updated for a year. Somebody's just moved into your area. They have found your website. They're happy with that and what you're doing. And, oh, they're on Facebook too. I'm on Facebook. I'm going to like them. And they look, and it hasn't been updated for months. That might give them a second thought about, would I really want to get involved in this group because I'm really into social media, but they're not. So if you take a look at your Facebook page and it hasn't been updated, think about maybe you shouldn't be having one, or you should find somebody that really loves social media and wouldn't mind updating it. If you have new board officers, even if they're the same people, put the information on Facebook. Let them know that your newsletter is online. Talk about, you know, put a little blurb through, this is what our next meeting is going to be. This is about the SIGs. At one of the New York groups, Westchester had a really interesting presentation by a social media person. It was a webinar, and one of the comments was that she gave was, ask members to post a comment about how much they enjoyed the meeting. The presentation was interesting, informative, whatever. I got my problem answered during the Q&A. Really got some good security tips at that October meeting. That shows other people who come to your Facebook page that your meetings are productive. People are actually learning something. It takes, you know, not even 5 minutes to do something like that. If you have someone who decides they will do your Facebook page, you can have information that clicks through to many tech places. If you have social activities, had a great time at whatever you did last night. Dinner was great, food was wonderful, conversation covered all topics, etc. Giving you positive reinforcement. So you might want to do tech tips for digital devices. Add a column or a blog. It automatically will come in, and you don't have to worry about it once you set it up. Here is information about the Danbury Tech Meetup on social media. And I think it's very interesting because they are the Danbury Area Computer Society. And their first thing tells them, hey, only the meetup name has changed. Bill James just gave a home automation security presentation, and they call their SIGs meetups. And they have a very effective meetup page, and it does get them new members. And here's the CP user group, who has an outstanding Facebook page. Their masthead or header rotates with all kinds of different pictures and everything. And I know on APCUG's Facebook page, we get information from them all the time. They are hooked into a lot of tech columnists and bloggers, and they get that out to their Facebook page. But again, somebody only has to set it up once. It's not something that you need to do every single time you find a new article. But you can also find interesting topics on Jerry's Tech Tips on apcug2.org, as well as the new Windows / Android tech tidbits, Apple Tips, I'm sorry, the Apple Tips. You can go into there and think, oh, that's interesting, and you can copy what Jerry put together and put the URL in, and boom, it'll be on your web page. So what's in a name? Are you still a PC club? Are you still a PC user group? Back in the day, 2012, APCUG had a regional computer conference. The next year, it was the tech conference. 2 years later, it was the International Computer and Digital Technology Conference. And last year, I changed it to International Technology Conference, because we're all into technology. We are just not into computers. Technology is our main buzzword. And I was involved with the Southwest Conference in San Diego and at Cal Poly for 23 years. And we started out as a regional user group conference. We changed our name. We went on to computer conference. And when we became a computer conference, we added a tagline, enhance your life with technology, because we wanted to get the technology in there. But that was before everybody was saying you need to add technology to your name. So then we changed it to the Southwest Technology and Computer Conference. It was the same thing, but we just kept changing the name. The bank could have cared less. The bank still checking account said Southwest Regional User Group Conference. They really didn't care. What did APCUG do? Added a tagline. You should have been at the online meeting we had when we were trying to come up with a tagline with members from the board of directors and board of advisors meeting at a conference during an annual meeting time. And we had quite a discussion going, and we finally came up with an International Association of Technology First Computer User Groups. Danbury says that's their tagline. CP User Group says we're a computer and technology club. Lorain County in Ohio, we make understanding technology easy and fun. Come and learn with us. I'd go to their meetings. That sounds like fun. There's APCUG's old logo that absolutely looks horrible, but I went to images.google.com. That is the only one that's up there. And I went back till it said, sorry, lady, there aren't any more. And at that meeting where we talked about the tagline, we came up with the new logo. There it is as a standalone. There it is with the tagline. And there's an old member of when the logo was colored. It wasn't ever actually approved by anybody. The approved one was the one with the arrow up at the top that I understand was put together by Microsoft, and I never did understand the arrow, except it obviously refers to we're around the world. And then there's our new member of APCUG. And nothing that we have now says personal computer user groups. It's just a logo APCUG, and the tagline. Works for us, could work for you. On to publicity. Back in the day, didn't we all have trifold brochures and flyers? We asked the publicity person, would you please take them to all of these stores and drop them off? And you quickly found that, you couldn't find a publicity person that wanted to spend their time driving around and dropping off flyers or brochures. Well, the brochures have kind of gone away for most groups. Flyers are still out there, something that we use. And one of the things that Los Angeles Computer Society does is they send their monthly meeting to members who have said, hey, I'll be more than happy to print it and take it to where I go. The LACS meets in Westchester, just north of Los Angeles Airport. So they have a diverse community. They have Westchester, they have Culver City, various in Santa Monica. So they have members who, have different senior centers or libraries or tech shops where they go. That's a cool way to do it because they're going there anyway. Or, it doesn't take them long to drive over, jump out of their car, run in, and give the flyers to whoever. Do you have a mini presentation? Somebody says to you, hey, we're really interested in having you come out and tell our members about what you do. And you go, gulp, okay. And then somebody has to put something together at a moment's notice. If you put a general presentation together about your group that's not very many slides long, on who you are, what you do, about your special interest groups, all of the information, it's ready to give at a moment's notice. And somebody can say, hey, we've got that presentation. I like that group. I'm a member. I can give it. You can also have a 4-page sample newsletter. Most of the groups do not print their newsletters anymore. But if you had a 4-page sample newsletter with some security tips that don't go out of date, an article or two that is not going to get stale on what you're talking about, information about your club, you have paperwork to give to somebody. People still like to get paper. You could have an open house at your meeting location. I have seen many groups do this. The interesting one that I saw, they had 2 areas that they covered. They have a help desk, and they talked about their individual SIGs, and they had a very short overview of what they do during their meeting. But those were the things they featured, and they just had people sitting there like they do at the help desk, answering questions, and representatives from the individual SIGs. If you have a tech call-in show in your area, and you have members that absolutely swear by Leo Laporte or whoever, when they call in and they say, hi, my name is, ask them to please mention the name of your group. I'm a member of. If you have community blogs, community calendars, your local newspaper, TV station, whatever, has a calendar of events, you only need to put the information in once and say it's a recurring event and refer to your webpage. Of course, you need to keep it updated, or your Facebook account needs to be updated, or your meetup page, and it needs to be up to date. But your publicity person doesn't think, oh, I missed the deadline, which is usually 2 weeks, for getting the information to this calendar, this one, or whatever. We have a city one, and they vet everything, and the guy gets back to me and says, hey, it looks okay, Judy, thank you very much. And each month you will go and see, there we are with contact us at our website, contact us at this email address. One-stop shopping for your PR person. I like the PSA, public service announcement, on the Pikes Peak Computer Application Society in Colorado Springs. If you want to get in touch with Joe, I'm sure he would be more than happy to, tell you what he used to put it together, but he's sitting in his easy chair at home talking about what happens at their group and why you should want to visit and attend a meeting. Very easy to do, and I don't think that any other club has something like this. APCUG has a publicity presentation on YouTube. You might check it out for a few more ideas. How about publicity for your members? You think, why in the world do I need to have publicity for my members? Well, you have to keep them engaged. How about a pre-meeting looping presentation? Put it together once, pictures of your officers, your SIG leaders with a short description of the SIG. What do you change each month? Your current meeting information. Then move it to past meeting information. Some tech cartoons. How about just going to How To Geek and using theirs? They put a blog out every single day. They've got a cartoon every single day. And have it looping as people are coming in and getting their coffee or getting settled. And it just keeps them engaged in what is going on in their group. If we all like younger members in our groups, but most of us have realized they're not interested. They see the gray hair, the white hair, and they probably want to run as fast as they can in the opposite direction. Some of us are lucky enough to have younger people come in and give presentations. I know my grandson came in and talked about the robotics team and the robots they were building and demonstrated the 3D printer that they had. But Gabe Goldberg, advisor for Region 2, is really hot on his list. Are you actively recruiting members at senior centers, adult education classes, senior net classes, etc.? This is our target market, he feels. And with the adult education classes, if you have a member of your group, like that's where I teach there, have them ask the school if they could, say a few words about your group. Could you hand around, which is what I do, a sign-up sheet? Would you like to get meeting announcement emails? And they can sign up as to whether they want to receive them or just pass that clipboard on to the next person. Do you have business cards for your members? Meeting information, location, SIG info, everything that you do on front and back. And ask them to hand them out when talking with people who might be interested. You're always talking to somebody. Oh, yeah, we meet on the second Wednesday of the month. Yeah, we meet at the senior center. We start at 6 to 9. They're never going to remember any of that. But if I hand them one of our cards, they've got the information there. And Vistaprint is always offering special pricing. Many groups offer incentive to members for recruiting new members. They extend their membership. Some give flash drives. Whatever works for your group, you can have an incentive program for recruiting new members. Do you send your guests an email? Thank you for attending. TUGNet in Granada Hills also attaches a copy of the latest newsletter when they welcome them or ask, thank them for attending. When you have somebody new join, do you send them a welcome? Hi, we're so glad you've joined. This is what we have to offer, blah, 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 blah. What you really need to do is ask them to reply to make sure you have their correct email address. You do, but when they reply, you have the CAN Spam Act, you're covered with that. So do you take new member pictures? Welcome them in the newsletter or on the website. Do you have a sign-in desk so guests can be acknowledged during the meeting? I know at one meeting I go to, they've got the clipboard at the sign-in desk, and that person's responsibility just during break time before they break for coffee is they come up and say, we have, Joe Blow here as our guest, and that person stands up. They thank him for attending, ask him what his interests are, and he gets acknowledged. He or she gets acknowledged. I have a guest form. Name, address, phone, email. Where did you find out about the group? Hey, I read about it in the Signal. from one of Judy's classes. Lets you know where your marketing efforts are working and what are their interests. If you have that 4-page mini newsletter, you can give each guest a copy of it, a brochure or a flyer, and an application form. An application form is just a piece of paper, but hey, they might act on it right then or fill it out at home and come back to the next meeting. And I just thought about that about an hour ago. Do you have a statement on your app that photos be taken at your meetings, etc., and uploaded to the website, Facebook, etc.? I know at Southwest, we uploaded some photos on the website as well as Facebook, and we heard about it from one of the attendees. She really didn't want her picture up anywhere on the web. We took them down and said, oops, we better put something on our registration form, and in this case, our application. I have a guest drawing from those guest forms. I always keep something small in my box that I bring back and forth, my personal box of stuff. And if we have guests, I can quickly have a guest drawing. So they've come to the meeting, they've enjoyed the presentation, and somebody gets to go home with something. Again, Los Angeles Computer Society has a few volunteers who will welcome guests on a rotating basis. They are not doing it at every meeting, and new members. And these are the people that never know a stranger. You're not going to ask the shy person if this is something they'd like to do. You know those members in your group who they just go up to complete strangers and chat with them and have no problem. Those are the people that you want to ask to do this. And you would, hopefully they would sit with a new member or guest and point at, hey, that's such and such and so-and-so. This is what's going to happen next. We're going to have our break. We have coffee and goodies or whatever. We're going to have a raffle. The tickets that we sell are over here. The restrooms, in my case, the restrooms are down the hall. Open up the door, go into the lobby, turn to the left, go all the way down to the dead end. It's not just that door over there. What you're trying to do is make them welcome, make them want to come back. It's like Patricia Hill and I said when we were co-chairs for Southwest, it's like we're inviting all of our attendees into our home. We want them to be welcome. We want them to feel comfortable. That's what you want to do at your meeting. Do you have a guest meeting email that you send? The CP user group does. The person who sends it out has the exact same email. Go to members and non-members. I'm on many groups' email addresses, is how I know this, but they have one specifically for guests saying, hi, this is where we found you. You're receiving this because of a recruiting event or a meeting. And then it just has the regular meeting information, list of what's happening, location, and I took name of building, you know, the XYZ building. Please visit the club's website. And then I got the bottom one from the KEGS, Computer Enthusiasts of Greater Seattle Group. And they say, if you are a member of Facebook, please join our page at, and I thought that was cool. You really need to have a disclaimer. Again, it's that CAN Spam Act at the bottom of your email, letting them opt out. This morning, I got an email from Eventbrite that somebody has opted out of my 800+ email list for VTCs. Legally, with CAN Spam, even though we're nonprofit, we need to do that. And you should have that on your emails. And I love this one from the Prescott Computer Society. I just think it's way cool. If you want a grin and a laugh from people, you'll put something cute together like this as your disclaimer. For member retention, at your January meeting, why don't you put a short recap of your monthly presentations? People don't remember what they saw in June or July or even probably November. All about what they learned last year. I did this for the first time this year, although I've talked about it for eons, and I just took it from my PR and my newsletters. You could have information that the SIGs did, social activities, Whatever your club has accomplished that is a benefit of their membership, remind them of it. Oh, you know, I don't know if I'm going to renew my dues. We just never do anything. Yes, we do. And your January presentation reminds them of also what they missed because they didn't attend a particular meeting. And this was what I included in my February blurb. And I love it. I have a LibreOffice, and then I speak about OpenOffice. Oh, well. But it was a follow-on to January, and so on. So this is what they got for February, just to remind them. Do you provide your members with valuable resources and experiences? Well, experiences are coming to the meeting and learning something. And Rambling Ron Brown, who just gave the Chromebook for Seniors presentation, is involved with the Silvercom Computer Technology Club in Arizona, and he sends an email every Thursday. His last one reminded them about the VTC, and I love the picture of the store in Arizona that sells guns as well as repairs guns and computers. And his comment was, does anybody want to make a visit, talk to the person, and come back and report about it at a meeting? He also had info about Google Home, Android apps, Evernote, a couple of email programs. And again, you could go to Jerry's Tech Tips or Apple Bites at apcug2.org and get very quickly some things to put together for your members. Have you done a survey of your members to find out what they like and how meetings, SIGs, etc. can improve? If you ask them, they're just going to look at you like you're crazy. But if you send them a survey, they just might, you know, participate, give them some kind of incentive for emailing it in. You're going to find out what devices, computers, OSs they have, so then you can focus on their needs and interests. And Google surveys are very easy to use. Do you get in touch with members who are not attending meetings? Send him an email. I just did that recently, and his wife let me know that he had died. And I appreciated that because I'd really missed him sitting in his appointed place in the back of the room in the left-hand corner. And she didn't, you know, think about getting in touch. But when I sent a direct email, I just said, hi, Bill, you know, we miss you. And because you never know, because we're an aging group. But they might say, hey, I'd love to come, but, you know, I can't get there any longer. They don't renew. Can you give us a reason why you didn't renew? Again, I hate to make a phone call. Put a short little survey together and see if they'll answer why they left, what they liked. Don't say what you didn't like, but where you need improvement. Maybe it's just something simple like they need a ride to a meeting, and you know somebody in your group that would be more than happy to pick them up because they just live 2 blocks away. Who knows? The ever pesky problem on how in the world do you get volunteers? We all know we never stand in front of the group and ask because they won't raise their hand and they'll just cross their arms over their chest and glare at you. We need to get to know our members, learn their names. Do your members wear badges to make it easy to figure out who everybody is, especially the new people? One of our local groups in SoCal, everybody turns their badge in at the end of the meeting, and that's what they use to draw for their door prizes. If you can, make it a practice to talk with different members before the meeting and during the break time so you can get to know them. Watch the attendance. Are they always in their appointed places? Because if your group's like mine, they all like to sit in the exact same space every single month. What are they interested in? Have you found out anything about their work background? Hey, they might fit volunteering for this. Do you have a section on your application that lets new members know these are the areas where you need help? They might say, oh, you know, when I get my feet wet a little bit, I'll think about volunteering for this because that's what I did at work, or this is what I really enjoy doing. And if you can find out what's important to them, is it status? Is it somebody that wants to come up into the front of the group all of the time and report on what they're doing? Or did they just like to participate, stay in the background? Whatever you do, make it positive and fun, whatever their motivation is for volunteering. And you all know, ask one-on-one for help, start small, and work your way up. We have a very nice presentation on art of persuasion. I have that in hard copy, and I'd be more than happy to email it to anybody who wants a copy. Do you recognize your volunteers? Everybody likes a pat on the back and to be recognized. If nothing else, April is National Volunteer Recognition Month. If you don't do anything else, you can use that as some place where you can honor your volunteers at a minimum with a certificate, calling them up, thanking them for what they do. Step it up with a cake with a thank you to volunteers, a sheet cake. Take a picture, write it up, send it to your local newspaper, put it in your newsletter, put it on your website. We don't think of sending our new officers information at the election meeting and picture to the local newspapers. All the other organizations do it, but I never see computer clubs doing this. So do that when you honor your volunteers. How about just simple extra drawing tickets? Pop it up, lunch, dinner, depending upon how much money you have in your budget. But please don't forget to recognize your volunteers. Does your group have social interaction? Do they get together during the month, except in addition to the meeting? I love it. The Pikes Peak Digerati geeks out on fine food and good conversation every single month. There is always a picture in the newsletter about that. The Idaho Technology User Group meetings, every single meeting, they have food. They either have food in where they eat together, or they go out before the SIG, or they go out after the meeting. I can just imagine they all weigh 200 pounds. I don't know. The Melbourne PC has, I love this, Wine and Fine Food Lovers event, also known as WAFO, after each general meeting. Kegs out of Seattle is going to their Microsoft store, and after that they're having dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. TugNet has dinner once a month. I just got my email. I'm on their email list reminding me of dinner next Tuesday, and it's passive fundraising. They go to restaurants where nonprofits will get part of what everybody spends. The Icon Technology Group in Missouri, as part of their Saturday lineup, they have a brown bag lunch presentation. And the Modesto Group has food every single month because they eat at Round Table Pizza. That's where they have their meetings, and one of the round tables that has the really up-to-date meeting rooms. One of the biggies is officer burnout, and that's one of the things that APCUG as an organization really can't help with. We can offer solutions and stuff for almost everything else, but we can only offer ideas that other groups are doing. There's a couple of groups that have co-officers, presidents. One president does a meeting one month, the other one does it the next month, so they're each only doing 6. A couple of groups don't even have presidents. The vice president handles everything. I can only assume that people just don't want president as a title. How about changing president to chairman? Maybe that would sit better. And they go, I don't want to go out for another meeting a month. Well, the San Luis Obispo group uses Zoom, and they've done it for the last couple of years for their board meetings. They don't have to go out because they draw from a diverse area up in Central California, and that people don't have to drive that extra mile, so to speak. They use the free Zoom app. They meet for 40 minutes. They have a 10-minute break. They have 40 more minutes if it takes that to finish their meeting. If you have in-person board meetings, have food before or after. Food is always a draw, it seems, for a lot of things. I have a listing of the resources at the end of the presentation. John, do we have any questions?
There are a few, but I think that I'll just have them sent to you and you can finish it because we are at 4:07 Eastern time. but it was a great presentation. I have notes that I've taken that I was supposed to be taking notes to ask you, but you gave me a lot. So I know everybody else has gotten some interesting ideas.
Okay, I gave this presentation to a group in March, and I sent it off to them, and I heard back that they were already working on some of the ideas the next day. So what I quickly did was I turned it into a Word document so they could use it as a Word document, and much easier to look at than a PowerPoint presentation. So I will be turning this into a Word document, and it, as well as the PowerPoint, well, PDFs for both, will be uploaded to the website. And again, if you have additions to anything I've said, and I know you have a lot more ideas than what I presented, but let's share. Send me those ideas, and I will include them in my working document. And they'll eventually make it into my PowerPoint presentation.